Welcome back, Inebri-art. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast. I am once again recording from the comfort of my couch because we are still under social distancing rules. And today we have a musician on, Joan as Policewoman. Welcome to the show, Joan.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Now, normally I always try to avoid asking, where'd your band name come from? But we were just discussing, because I asked you, do I refer to you as Joan or Policewoman? And you kind of had a laugh about that, but then I made a reference to Prince. So we were just talking about Prince, and unbeknownst to me, because I always just assumed it was a stage name, but Prince was named Prince, you were telling me.
Prince Rogers Nelson. And then his dad, who was also a musician, his stage name was Prince Rogers, and he had the Prince Rogers Trio. His dad's name was John, but his stage name was Prince Rogers. So he named his son
after his stage name. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's great.
So did you have a parent named Policewoman, and that was how they performed? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? That would be a great story that would be completely false.
Yeah. Well, you can tell it like it's real.
Yeah, well, no, I can't. We're already it's too obvious already.
Yeah.
The name comes from, it's in reference to American television cop show that ran from 74 to 76.
Yeah.
Starring Angie Dickinson. The show was called Policewoman. It was the first drama starring a woman.
Mm-hmm. She
was 40 when the show started. And so this is a long explanation, my friends.
That's
Get
okay.
ready. So I have been a musician all my life, and I played in a lot of different ensembles before I became Joan as Policewoman. And so I was known primarily as a violin player.
Mm-hmm. So
when I started to write my own music and started to sing, which was something I never had done before that, the first show I did, solo show, I performed it under my given name, Joan Wasser. Mm-hmm. And people thought that it said Joan Wasser solo, and people thought I was doing solo violin shows. So I realized, because I was known as a violin player, mm-hmm. that I needed to make a name for my music. Okay, so at the time I was blonde.
Yeah.
And I saw my friend Ruben on the street, and I enjoy wearing ridiculous clothing. So I was wearing some kind of 3-piece polyester baby blue pantsuit. This was in 2002. Mm-hmm. And he said, Joan, you're channeling Angie from Policewoman. That's it. Joan as Policewoman forever.
Nice.
That's it. Joan as Policewoman. That's the explanation.
So were you a fan of the show as well?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in syndication or reruns or whatever. I mean, it was kind of like, it wasn't one of the ones that was on the most. Like, I definitely saw Charlie's Angels, which is mm-hmm. a similar show, except lighter and fluffier.
Yeah.
More than I saw Policewoman. But yes, I did. I loved Policewoman. It's amazing show. Check it out.
I've definitely heard of it. I'm going to have to see if I can find it on Hulu or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you said you started off as a violinist. Now, was this something you took on at an early age? And were you kind of looking to get into kind of pop rock music? Or was you more classically trained? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, unlike a lot of violinists that go on to study the violin through college like I did, my parents were not that parent that started me at 3 and were, coaching me through the Beethoven Violin Concerto when I was 8 or something.
Yeah.
They just offered it in my public school in 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was an assembly and people came in and played the violin, viola, cello, and bass. And at that time in the 70s, you could, there was like a lot of funding for the arts. So that anyone could play an instrument. You could rent any of those instruments for $10 a year.
Yep, I remember that's how I got into band myself.
Okay, amazing. What do you play?
I haven't played in years, but I started off on clarinet with the kind of school rental. Then in high school, I moved on to bass clarinet for concert band, and saxophone for marching and jazz band, and then I picked up the guitar in high school as well, to get the ladies, which didn't work.
Sure.
But yeah, and so then I played, I think, all those for quite a few years, and then when I went to art school, and I only have a limited amount of time, and I focused on art and kind of put music aside, and sitting around the house for a month now, I'm like, oh, having a guitar would have been really nice right about now.
Yeah. I'll bet you have friends.
What was that?
I bet you have friends you could borrow one from.
Yeah. Too many, right around, like locally here, people are very apprehensive about going out and
Where are you?
I'm just south of Boston, about 30 minutes or so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean here too in New York City and Brooklyn.
You got
it's so rough. But anyway, I mean, now I'm just going to, I believe that these days the way to get the ladies is through bass clarinet. Okay.
Oh, is it through bass clarinet?
That's my personal opinion. But
I'll have to give that a go. Maybe someone I know has a bass clarinet to borrow.
Honestly, the 2 people that I know that play bass clarinet are just 2 of the best musicians I know. They're incredible. So anyway, I have a fondness for the bass clarinet. It has such an amazing sound.
It's got a great sound, and it's one of those it's such a I don't want to say obscure, but little known instrument outside of, concert bands. But I mean, it pops up once in a while. I know Jack White had a song with bass clarinet featured in it. And it looks weird, because it looks like a big...
It's an amazing look. A lot of my songs have bass clarinet on them.
Really? No kidding.
Oh, yeah. A lot.
I'm going to have to dive deeper into your YouTube page that I was checking out earlier.
Also, I just have to shout out the 2 musicians that I mentioned, Doug Wieselman and Alec Spiegelman, and they're just they both live in New York City, and they're just insane. If you ever get a chance to see either one of them play in any one of the 4 quadrillion ensembles they play in, I would suggest it. Anyway, just had to throw that in.
So what were you doing when all this kind of broke out? We've been talking to a lot of musicians who were either just about to go on tour or in the midst of a tour. Were you playing gigs, or were you kind of like in the studio?
I was beginning to mix a live record that I recorded when my band got off tour in November 2018, or we had a break then. So I was starting to mix that, and then I was about to go into rehearsals, and our tour was to start in a couple of days for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So all of that, obviously, the rehearsing, gone. Rehearsing is like probably my favorite part.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I mean,
you prefer to
just
performing
playing.
On stage?
No, not really. But like, I love rehearsing. I love rehearsing because I love playing with my band. And
So
when no one's listening, it's just so free.
So like less pressure and more freeing to do kind of improvisation?
And also, yeah, and then also just working out the arrangements for the songs with my band is so fun. So, I mean, that happens on stage too, but
yeah,
you know, it's just like finding the way to make the song the best is just a really fun process, because I love the guys I play with. But so the rehearsals off, tour off. It's sort of it was a lot of it was rescheduled for the end of this year, which I didn't understand how that was going to actually happen. And then, of course, it was moved again to a year from now, which I also hope can happen. But we'll see.
It's pretty crazy. I live actually right in Plymouth, Massachusetts, right near the Mayflower.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the big 400th anniversary celebration, the Plymouth, the Pilgrim Landing, blah blah blah. And so now, like, it seems like all the events are getting pushed off to next year. I'm like, so we're gonna be celebrating the 401st, and so it's been a very weird.
That's actually cooler. Come on, 401 is a little bit cooler. 400 is so overrated.
It's 1 year cooler.
Yeah, it is.
So you're talking about how much you love playing with your band. Now, how do you go? Are these musicians that you've known for a while? Did you hold auditions? Like, how do you put together a band that you love playing with so much?
Well, the drummer I've known since 1996, Parker Kindred. And we have played together in different varieties for almost that long. So he's kind of like my brother a little bit. We've like grown up together. Even though we started as adults, we've continued to grow up together. And he's been in the band since 2007. But I played with him a bunch before that. The first drummer for the band is he's the first musician I asked to play with me. His name's Ben Porowski. I just heard him play with another band, and I was just completely taken by his playing. I had like an out-of-body experience. I felt like I was flying. I was just like, whoa, this dude has like some extra skills. I mean, he does. He's incredible. So I knew him just a little bit, but then I asked him to play with me, and for some reason he said yes. I mean,
Those are my favorite, because you do that all the time and be like, I asked so-and-so for an interview and they said yes. And people are like, wow, it's awesome. I'm like, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You got to ask.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the worst that can happen is they can say no.
Right.
So we Ben and I played together for 4 years. He made the EP and the first record with me. So really, it's just like people who I hear play that I love their playing. That's true as well with, I did hold auditions for bass players after we stopped playing, because he moved upstate and just wanted to become more of a producer. When we stopped playing with Tyler Wood, who's a keyboard player, but he's like he's really like a octopus. Like he plays Moog with his left hand, so bass Moog with his left hand, and then he plays like 4 keyboards with his right hand.
Jeez.
And so I didn't want to try to replace. He's irreplaceable. So I wanted to start playing with an electric bass player again, which is what I started with. I love them both. It's just so I did hold auditions for bass players about 3 years ago, and don't tell anybody, but I
won't.
I stacked
the
interviews, the audition, so that we played with what I thought was going to be the person the least likely to the person that was most likely.
Okay.
In that order, so that we didn't have so that it wasn't like we were playing with the best person first and then the rest of the auditions were like kind of a bummer. Like it's fun to play. It's fun to play with everybody, like at whatever level. So I mean, the fact is no matter what, everybody, the level of musicianship in New York City is insane. So everybody was great, but I was right. The last person we played was the person that I'm still playing with, Jacob Silver. He's just astounding. He also plays with Lee Fields. That's his other regular gig. But so it's just like I had seen him play and I was just like, wow. It's just people I love their playing, and then just trying to like wrangle them into playing with me.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Where it's so competitive in New York as far as the level of musicians, is it harder to get gigs there, or do you kind of have to kind of start in maybe less desirable clubs and work your way up, or did you make is more about who you know kind of thing?
New York, I've lived here for a long time, so I do know a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But when I started, I like continue to book my own shows in New York City, because really I work most in Europe and Australia and New Zealand. Like I don't do a lot of US playing except for here. That might change soon. I'm ready to try to tackle the US again. I did so much touring in the 90s and in the early 2000s that I couldn't. I actually just couldn't do it anymore.
Why overseas then? I feel like that would be harder.
Well, I mean, as a musician, you just get treated better there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. Huh. They also just care about music more. This is my experience.
I've actually heard that from other people, saying that they're more willing to go and listen to someone who does original music opposed to the U.S.
Yeah, it's just a lot more homogenous here in terms of what people listen to. So, I mean, also they just have amazing radio there that people still listen to radio. There's like a tradition of just people understanding the history of music and stuff. It's just it feels very different. I mean, of course, I love playing here too, and it's I'm just making rash generalizations, but that is what I've experienced in general, But so shows here, I really just like to play the places that are both comfortable for the band and comfortable for the crowd.
Yeah.
So, there's like a lot of like cool clubs, but I would never play there because the bar is in the room where you play. And so we play very quietly sometimes. So that's like pointless having like a margarita blender going. So it's pretty like I sort of choose the venues based on how it's going to be, based on the experience everybody's having. Like I never, here in New York City, I'm never trying to make money because I just want to give people the best show. When I go overseas, because I'm just really established there, it's better in general. But here, I just want to have a good time, also because it's my hometown.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And I feel like because we run a lot of events as well, and I feel like the ones like local in our hometown, our bar for what is a successful event is much lower because I'm like, it took me like 2 minutes to get here, and it's kind of like hanging out with your friends, and so you're kind of, in my experience, you're a little more lenient on your expectations. Maybe I don't know if that's the correct way of saying it. Do you feel that same way where you're like, maybe it's kind of like you're looking more for that comfortable feel? Opposed to, big dollars.
Yeah. I mean, actually, playing in New York City is much more difficult in terms of logistics.
Yeah.
When I'm on tour, all the gear is either traveling with us or rented and already at the club. There's a rhythm. I have a tour manager and a merch guy and a sound guy all traveling, and they know the show and stuff. So doing one show in New York City is actually a giant pain in the ass. I love doing them, but it's so labor intensive.
Yeah.
Really. So it's not like I just travel from my home and it's really easy. It's actually the opposite of that. Funny. It's always a pain in the ass and takes so much planning because it's just one show, So, no, I do. I try to make a really great experience for us and for the crowd. Yeah.
So, you were working on that live album that you said you were.
Yeah, the great thing about that.
Yeah.
Is because I had started mixing that record before this whole thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to continue to mix because the engineer is a really good friend of mine because I've just worked at the studio for 17 years or whatever. So the engineer and I we are each other's only other person that we've seen.
I got you.
That we have contact with.
Yeah.
So, I live alone and he lives alone. So we both bike to the studio most days and work, which has been incredible. Nobody else is in the studio. Right. Nothing else is happening there except for that. So I actually mixed an entire live record and am now working on on other projects there at the studio. That's been the way, that has been how I have not lost my mind.
Yeah, I'm out of work for my day job, and I'm just losing my mind sitting here and being like, I don't know what day it is, and I got up super late, and then I'm like, am I eating breakfast or is this lunch? I don't even know anymore. So it's a very weird time.
Yeah. I have to sort of do some sort of scheduling for myself, or else I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm not in the studio, I sort of I have to write down some things that I'm going to do that day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't do any of them.
But you have that.
I have it, and it's really helped me.
Yeah.
Because I definitely thrive with routine and having a schedule. Allowing my mind too much room to roam, not a good idea for me personally.
So is it better for you to have, kind of like hard deadlines and schedules and that sort of thing?
I love a hard deadline.
I love that you said that, because so many people, I get people will ask me to do commission work or whatever. Can you draw a picture of my dog or whatever? And I'd be like, oh, when do you need it by? And they'd be like, well, whenever. And I go, no, I can't do it. And they're like, why not? I'm like, well, if you tell me whenever, it will never get done.
That's right.
I just
that is right.
And it took me, I don't know, 40 years to figure that out.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's the only way.
Yeah.
I have a list of all these pieces of music that people want me to contribute to. Mm-hmm. And they have said, oh, take your time. And they're the things I have not done.
Right. Yeah. It's like, don't tell me to take my time. And I'm a definite list maker, and I have a calendar, and it's all color coded, and people are like, why don't you put it on your phone? I'm like, because that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. I can't do that. I don't know why.
Yeah. And this is why you have a podcast with 300 episodes. It's because you live your life like this. Just saying.
Yeah, sort of regimented.
True.
And it's one of those, I think it has made me more productive to do it that way, because I can look at not just to be on schedule, but I can look at my calendar and go, oh, I have nothing to do on Tuesday. Well, let's fill that with something productive. And I think that's
right. That's exactly right. And so you just let the cat out of the bag with you make art still.
Yeah.
You work as an artist.
Not on my regular day job. I have somehow evolved from artist to event planner.
Okay.
Because
you made it.
Yeah, right. Because it started off being like, oh, I would like this kind of art event, and so we set up a figure drawing group, and then the figure drawing group went from that to events at breweries, and then art shows and art hangings for different businesses. And so next thing you know, people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't have time to do anything.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah. So I tell people what I work in now is I build art communities, and it's been so rewarding.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And
you say I build art communities? That's so badass. There's nothing, I've never heard anything more badass than that. What do you do? I build art communities.
We're super lucky where we're located. There's a huge art and music scene here.
In Plymouth.
Yeah. And
that's so great.
But it is and it isn't. Like, it's great because it's here, but the art is very traditional, lighthouses and sailboats, and the music is a lot of cover bands. And so there's kind of this niche, this bubbling to the surface of people that aren't traditional artists or don't want to play covers. And so there's kind of like these small groups like ourselves, and Soundcheck Studios is kind of like a great music venue that are giving these people
I gotta play there.
Yeah. Soundcheck? It's a very cool place. Not a very big
it's
room.
A venue?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't like big rooms.
Oh, it's not.
The smaller the room, the better. I playing small rooms is my favorite thing on earth. So
Soundcheck.
What do you mean by small?
I don't know what their capacity is, but I'm guessing somewhere between 100 and 200 people.
Yeah, that's a perfect size.
Yeah, and it's a very cool place because it's basically these guys that it's up in Marshfield or Pembroke. It's basically a little north of Plymouth, and it's in an industrial park. And they rented out this building and built it out to be rehearsal studios for musicians. But then they put in a stage and a lighting and a sound system kind of in the front, and there's a little bar. No margaritas, as far as I know. And so bands who rehearse and bands that don't rehearse will play there. And, it's just a really kind of neat vibe where it's, the musicians will be there and they'll kind of like wander back to their rehearsal space, and, there'll be couches.
Casual.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool places around here.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. So it's a fun
Makes
community.
It's
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I kind of got off track. Oh, the one thing I wanted to ask. So your live album, was it recorded in New York, or did you record it overseas?
Oh, so I put out my first live album in 2009.
Yeah.
So pretty much I've been working on this record since. I know that sounds like a joke, but it's actually not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I have been recording the entire time, but I've been considering what to play, what to cover and what to record for a long time. And I did do some recording along the way. Mm-hmm. I get asked to do cover songs often, and, just for different events or whatever, and, some of them turn out okay, and some of them turn out really, really good. And sometimes I'll record them then, just to have, in the, as a possibility for this record that I didn't know when I wasn't like rushing it. It was kind of like whenever it happens, this record, that I'm putting out now. So
it's not recorded like live, like one show. It's different recordings from different places.
The covers record or the live record?
The live record.
Oh, the live record. Pardon me. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. The live record is recorded in the studio a couple days after we had gotten off a 2-month European tour.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to capture that thing that you have to capture right then, mm-hmm. or else it's gone. When you get in that, just like moving, when you're on tour, just like the music can expand to this really special place. Yeah. So I got that recorded, which I'm so glad about. And we did that in a studio. We did it live in the studio. So it wasn't at live shows. Doing live records from live shows is so hard.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. It's just sort of prohibitively expensive.
You need that Metallica money?
Yeah. What's that?
I said you need that Metallica money.
Exactly, my friend. that Metallica money. So yeah, so we did it we did it live in the studio, and and so that was really fun. Sorry for answering a question you didn't ask.
No worries.
At the beginning.
That's fine. So now I'm curious about this cover album. So is that the one that you were working on? I thought was the live album. So are you working on a cover album now? Or is that a different?
I have a covers album coming out on Friday.
Oh, no kidding.
Ever released on Friday, May 1st.
Oh, wow. So tell us about that one. What covers are on it? Or is that like a spoiler thing?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. The track listing has been public for a while. So this is, like I mentioned, my second covers record. The first one came out in 2009. That one was called Cover. This one's called Cover 2, brilliantly. And I'll tell you the songs I covered. I covered Kiss by Prince, Spread by Outkast, Out of Time by Blur, Not the Way by Cass McCombs, Life's What You Make It by Talk Talk, Under Control by The Strokes, On the Beach by Neil Young, There Are Worse Things I Can Do from the soundtrack of Grease, Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald, and Running by Gil Scott-Heron. Running is a spoken word piece that he wrote, and I wrote a song and a melody. I wrote a song around his spoken word piece called Running.
That's quite an array of different music genres. Like, how did you kind of, pick and choose which songs? 'Cause, I mean, I would never pair Outkast and Neil Young together.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love music, so if it's good, it's just I listen to every kind of music there is. Yeah. If I can, any music I haven't heard, I want to hear it. So I just chose songs that I loved and songs that I was able to find a way to deconstruct and then reassemble with some kind of new perspective or light or something. There are songs that I tried to cover, that I wanted to cover, that I couldn't really find a good enough reason to cover them, because either I wanted to actually sing it exactly like it had been, or whatever, so right. These are the songs that I felt like I found my way in, to merit them being covered. Yeah. So I have a very strong opinion about covers, and I feel if you're going to go through the trouble of recording, and again, this is just my personal opinion, go through the trouble of recording a cover, there's two ways in my mind that is acceptable. Is the people that do it so it sounds dead on to the band that they're covering. Weezer did Toto's Africa, and it's almost to the point where you're like, I can't even tell which one I'm listening to. Or to take it in a completely different direction, and in just like a way that the original song never intended. There's a band called Walk Off the Earth, and they did a cover of Old Town Road, and it's done on I usually see them around Christmas time. They're like bells, and they kind of will just ring the bell for each note, and there's usually a line of people. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sure. Yeah, I think you'd like my covers albums. Yeah, so do you try to do like really kind of make them your own song, or do you really try to kind of make it a copy of the original? Yeah, I have absolutely no interest in doing a wedding band version of any song ever. Okay, that's good. Ever. That's pointless and embarrassing. So Yeah, no, you should check out my covers records. Most people don't recognize the songs.
Yeah, see, I think those are some of the most interesting ones. Where you're like, God, you know, like you can almost sing along with it. You're like, why do I know the words to this song? Like, and then you have to almost work backwards and figure out where it came from.
Right.
So, how do you start to take I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to ask. Is it more difficult to kind of separate the original song and make it your own? Like, or do you kind of keep drifting back into the original song?
Yeah, I don't keep drifting back into the original song because I really do just deconstruct it and then change the rhythm, change the harmony, you know, otherwise like change the chords underneath the melody.
Yeah.
Or change the melody or both. I mean, in the Prince song, like there's a whole section in the middle where I wrote my own lyrics as well. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's all up for, it's all free and open.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really fun for me to do because I pour over my own writing, and it's incredibly important to me to have every word be exactly the right word, and I won't record the song if everything doesn't feel exactly right. I don't see the point in doing that. So doing cover songs just feels like eating candy because everything's already finished and you just get to tear it apart and put it back together in some new way. You know, it's 100% just creative candy. It's just so fun for me.
Do you,
and it's a nice respite, like after like working on my own stuff. You know, so go ahead. Sorry.
Do you, where you're putting out an album with it, do you like go out and seek the permission from the original person, or have you ever gotten feedback from any of them?
I do not seek permission.
Okay.
Never ask permission.
Ask for forgiveness.
Let's see. I mean, so Not the Way by Cass McCombs. I just released that 2 days ago, and Cass is my friend. So he wrote me when I released it, and he said he approved. So that's good. Let's see. A lot of these people are no longer with us, so they can't
give you feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So
wait. I mean, I hope that. Sorry. The Outcast song. I'm hoping to hear from Andre 3000. Okay, he's one of my favorite. I'm just putting that out there into the universe. All right.
Universe, yeah.
Yeah, Andre, I'm ready for you.
He is a fan of our podcast.
Is he?
I don't know.
He might be.
I would love that. No, I was just thinking because a friend of mine did just, like a YouTube video cover of Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen, and turned it into this real like melancholy like song. It was really good. But they ended up like he posted it and they ended up sharing the post on their feed. So it's just, I find that interesting when, the original artist kind of like gives that sort of supportive feedback.
Totally.
So what are your plans for, I'm guessing next year now, like after things go back to normal?
Yeah, the tour, if it goes as planned, which everything could change, it will happen pretty much the same time as it was going to happen this year, except next year. So it'll be May and June of 2021 in Europe. Um,
Do you know what
and because there's, say it again.
Do you know what countries you're headed to?
Oh, I mean,
all over.
Yeah, I mean, we hit the whole continent and the UK and Ireland, Norway, Helsinki, everywhere. Lots of shows in Italy, Spain. Yeah, I mean, I play everywhere.
Yeah,
which is great, the best. So that'll happen. Until then, I'm writing songs I'm always writing songs for a new record, like a new Joan's Policewoman record. But I also recorded a trio record in November in Paris when I had a day off there before my show last year. I recorded a trio record with Tony Allen. Do you know who that is? Drummer.
No, I don't think so.
He's the drummer for Fela Kuti's band. He pretty much made Afrobeat with Fela Kuti.
Oh, okay.
So with Tony Allen, and then my friend Dave Ukumu from London, who's an incredible guitar player, bass player. The three of us we just got together and played for 6 hours. So I'm making a record out of that right now, which is so fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm also working on a second record. I did a collaborative record with my good friend Benjamin Lazar Davis. We released that in 2016. So we're working on a second collaborative record as well. And we're about halfway through that at this point. So I'm just working on a lot of music.
A lot of projects. You sound kind of like-minded to myself, where I do better when I have multiple things going on, because if I get bored with one, I just pick up the other. Do you find that?
Yeah, when something's not coming, I don't think I ever get bored, but sometimes I get frustrated.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice to hop around. I think it, like you mentioned, it just keeps my spirits up, and then it also just keeps the creativity flowing rather than banging my head against the wall.
In a weird way, I feel like the more projects I have, the less it feels like work.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because it's like you don't ever get to that point where you're like, oh, I have to just sit here and do this one thing. You can always be like, well, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to go do something else and kind of jump around and keep it interesting.
Totally.
Where can our listeners go to buy your albums, find your music, all that fun?
Yeah. Well, I have a website, That Old Thing.
Yeah.
And you can buy actually limited edition red vinyl versions, a release of the red vinyl of cover 2, which is released on Friday, May 1st. But you can get that hard copy from my website. And then the music is everywhere. I mean, you can get it on iTunes.
All the normal
Spotify,
places.
All the regular places.
Now,
yeah.
When you make a vinyl album, I know there's like a huge resurgence in vinyl and collectors and whatnot. Is there even a point to making CDs anymore? Does anyone buy CDs?
People buy CDs in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also my brother who lives in New Haven still buys CDs. And he's a massive vinyl collection.
Yeah.
But he also buys CDs.
Do you make your brother buy your CD? I figured you just, give him one.
Certainly not.
No.
My brother gets everything he wants for free and more.
Yeah, it's just so funny that like CDs are such a huge thing, and I just feel like they're gone now. Like
I'm waiting for the resurgence of CDs. Actually,
yeah, I just wouldn't even know where to go and purchase one. Like, I don't think there's a store.
Well, you can go on Discogs and get any CD you want.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. There's still something. There's something about going to the store with the music.
Oh,
playing,
I agree.
Sorting through the,
Oh, I totally agree. Absolutely.
When I was in art school in Beverly, Mass, we used to go to Salem, and
yeah,
I think it was called the Record Exchange.
Yeah.
All used CDs. And it was exactly the kind of place you'd want to go and buy music.
Yeah, and you get lost. It's kind of meditative.
Yeah.
You get to talk to the music freaks in the store about what they're listening to. I love a record store. And
I also, it's going to sound weird, but I like the stores that will kind of give you crap for buying something. Kind of like, oh, that might be garbage, because then I'm like, okay, those guys are like tuned into stuff that I don't even know about.
As long as they tell you about that stuff that they think is so much better, that's cool. I mean, if they're willing to share their privy knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I usually find those people are more than willing to tell you what you should be listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And sometimes they're
not just what you shouldn't be listening
to. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Joan, this was awesome. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And
such a pleasure.
Yeah, I can't wait for the new. Well, by the time this gets put up, your new album will be out, which is coming out this Friday. It's called Covers 2, right?
Cover 2. Yeah. What is the venue in Plymouth called again?
Oh, well, we have a bunch. So the one that I was talking about is called Soundcheck Studios. And they are north of Plymouth. It's either Pembroke or Marshfield. I can't remember. It's kind of like right on the line. Okay. Then we have the Spire Center for Performing Arts right here in downtown Plymouth. That seats probably 200-300 people, and it's in an old church. It is a gorgeous venue.
It's in a church.
Yeah, like you still sit in pews.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, it's so neat. And then directly across the street from that, there's another venue called the New World Tavern. And it's this kind of gastro, beer pub. But in the back, it has a concert venue with a stage and lighting. That's probably like 100 people is probably like the max. So that's a much smaller, kind of intimate. That gets a lot of local acts through it. But they get, touring places occasionally.
Okay, great.
And then we have Memorial Hall, but that's a much bigger venue.
No.
Couple thousand. Dylan played there in the
60s. No. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you come down, I'll definitely be checking out those shows.
Yes, that would be so great. I mean, the fact is like now that our Euro tour is going to be next year, if a vaccine, does get released soonish, we will be dying.
Oh yeah,
to play.
Yeah.
So
and all these venues
we'll be doing regional shows. So we'll be doing regional shows, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, I do have contacts with them. So if you are interested, when the time comes, just shoot me an email and I'll get you connected.
Wonderful. I will do that. Wait, have you stopped recording? Because I'm about to ask you for your email.
Okay. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm going to stop recording and I will pass along my email.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art, except for Instagram, we're at Inebri-art6. You can email us with your questions, complaints, and whatnot at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And if you're looking for more podcasts, you can check out the other podcasts on our network, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror, and, of course, Bar Talk, Old Colony, and Inebri-art Podcast, the original. So check those out and subscribe and comment so we can reach more people, and thanks for listening.